The Tale of Queen Belle and the Mirror of Memory. Written by Lucas and his dad Greg. Narrated by Scott. Once upon a time, in a faraway land tucked between jagged mountains and enchanted woods, there stood a castle unlike any other. But this was not a place of sunlight and song. This castle was made of cold black stone, its towers cloaked in mist, and its great halls echoing with silence. Ivy crept across its broken windows, green mold spread like veins along its walls, and a bitter wind whistled through its ancient corridors. This was the lair of the evil queen. Or so she was called by everyone in the land. The villagers below dared not speak her name, for she was feared as a cruel and powerful sorceress, jealous, bitter, and filled with wrath. She had no friends, only trembling servants. She held no feasts, only whispered commands. She did not laugh, only sneered. But what no one knew, not even the queen herself, was that she had not always been evil. She had once been a child. She had once been kind. But that story had been forgotten, buried by time, sorrow, and a spell. Now, one dreary evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance and rain tapped like fingers on the windows, the queen lay in her grand bed, wrapped in blankets, but shivering all the same. Her head ached, her throat burned, and her usually thunderous voice was reduced to a hoarse whisper. None of her servants could soothe her. One brought her bat wings soup. "Disgusting," she snarled. Another offered tea made with lizard eyes. "Get out," she snapped. They all bowed and fled, leaving only one figure behind. An old man with a long silver beard, gentle eyes, and spectacles perched on the tip of his nose. He wore a thick wool cloak and carried a walking stick carved from ash wood. He was her huntsman. Not just a servant, but something far older, far dearer. He had been there before the beginning, before her cruelty, before her fall. She called him Hunts, short for huntsman, but in truth he had once been her father's most loyal knight and friend. Now he sat beside her bed and said, "You look weary, my queen. Would you allow me to ease your mind with a tale?" She groaned. "A tale? What use is a tale to a woman with a fever and a ruined throat?" "Some tales," he said softly, "are more healing than any potion." She glared at him but nodded. "Fine, sit, but make it good." Then, with a hacking cough, she turned toward the grand mirror that hung opposite her bed. "Mirror, mirror on the wall," she wheezed, "come and join us, one and all." The mirror shimmered. Swirls of green mist churned within its glass, and then, slowly, a face emerged. Angular, solemn and ancient, a face shaped from light and memory.
"What wouldst thou bid, my queen?"
It asked in a voice like wind through leaves. "I am ill," she rasped, "too sick to rise, too bitter to sleep. My huntsman will tell you a story. You shall listen and record it in case I wish to hear it again."
"As you command,"
said the mirror. The huntsman took a stool beside her. He opened a leather-bound book, though the story he was about to tell needed no script. He had lived it. He adjusted his spectacles, looked the queen in the eye, and began. "Once upon a time," he said, "there was a kingdom as lovely as spring, where the air smelled of pine and lavender, and the rivers ran clear and fast. In the heart of this kingdom stood a castle carved from golden stone, lit with crystal chandeliers and crowned with banners of blue and silver. It was ruled by a noble king and a queen." "They sound dreadful already," muttered the queen. The huntsman smiled. "They were loved by all who knew them, not because they were rich or powerful, but because they were just and good. They walked among the villagers, helped bake bread, learned everyone's names, and shared in both celebration and sorrow. And they had magic," he said, "not the kind used for curses or vanity, but magic rooted in kindness and wisdom, magic taught to them by a most extraordinary enchantress named Beatrice." The queen narrowed her eyes. "I don't like her already." "She was no ordinary woman," the huntsman continued. "She lived in a hidden tower behind a waterfall and kept a secret library full of ancient spells. She had hair like woven silver and eyes like autumn leaves. And though she could command thunder and starlight, she preferred to make gardens bloom and children laugh. She was the king and queen's trusted advisor, and she helped them prepare for something very special." The queen leaned forward despite herself. "A child," said the huntsman. "A daughter." The entire kingdom rejoiced. There were parades, dances, songs. Bakers crafted cakes taller than children, and weavers stitched baby gowns from the softest wool. The king and queen held a grand feast and invited every citizen. And after the feast, they stood before their magic mirror, the same mirror you see now, my queen, and asked, magic mirror on the wall, will our child be kind to all? The mirror's light dimmed, and the face within it whispered,
Your daughter will be beautiful, the fairest of all. But her heart will not always remain open. She will grow cold. She will be lost. And though you may try to save her, you may not live to see her return.
The evil queen lay still, her brow furrowed. Go on, she said, voice quiet now. She was born, said the huntsman, a child so radiant the sun itself seemed to pause to admire her. Her name was Belle. He paused. The evil queen blinked. Belle, she said slowly. Yes, said the huntsman. Belle, you. The room was silent save for the crackling fire. You lie, she said. I do not, he replied gently. But let me tell the rest. Princess Belle was adored by all. Her laughter was like music. Her hair shone like spun gold. And as she grew older, she only became more beautiful. But that beauty became a burden. She began to spend hours in front of the mirror, not smiling, studying, searching, comparing. She grew jealous. She snapped at her handmaidens. She scorned visiting princesses. She began to ask the mirror again and again, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And the mirror, always obedient, answered,
You, Princess Belle.
But its glow grew dimmer. The yellow faded to green, for green is the color of envy. The evil queen shuddered. Beatrice grew worried. She came to the king and queen and said, Your daughter's heart is closing, but I have an idea. She told them of a prince, a kind, humble young man from a neighboring kingdom, Prince Philip. She asked their blessings to invite him in disguise, dressed not in silks, but in the plain clothes of a traveler. She believed if Belle could learn to love someone without knowing his status, her heart might open again. The king and queen agreed. Philip came. He met Belle in the garden, where she was, of course, gazing at her reflection in the pond. He bowed, he smiled, he spoke with kindness, but Belle turned away. You are nothing, she said, just a farmer. She sent him away. The queen blinked rapidly. her hands trembling. "Wait," she whispered. "I remember something." Philip went to the king and queen, who greeted him with sorrow. "I pity her," he said, "not for her beauty, but for the emptiness she carries." Beatrice nodded. "I will take them somewhere safe, and I will try one last enchantment." She gave him an apple, a spellbound apple. He took a bite and fell into an enchanted sleep. He was taken into the care of 7 kind dwarves deep in the woods, who laid him gently in a bed carved from oak and wrapped him in woolen blankets. And he slept. Years passed. The king and queen grew old and frail. On their final day, they called Belle to their bedside, but she stood, cold and distant. "Goodbye," she said, and left. The evil queen now sat up fully in bed. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I did that?" she whispered. "Yes," said the huntsman, "but it wasn't your fault that you could not remember, for Beatrice had cast a forgetting spell. She hoped one day you would be ready to remember. And you are remembering now," came a new voice from the door. The queen turned. An old woman stood there, wrapped in a blue cloak, her silver hair glowing in the candlelight. "Beatrice," the queen breathed. "I have watched from afar," said Beatrice, "and waited for this day. I was awful to you," whispered the queen. "Yes," Beatrice said gently, "but the story is not yet finished." She turned to the door. "Come in, my king." And a man stepped inside, still tall, still kind, his hair now flecked with gray, his eyes still full of light. "Philip." She rose, trembling. "Is it truly you?" "It is," he said, "and you are still the fairest one of all, but not because of your face, because your heart has returned." They stood hand in hand. She turned to the mirror. "Mirror, mirror, on the wall, is there hope for us, one and all?" The mirror shimmered golden once more.
Yes, my queen, there is hope. You are loved. You are forgiven. And your story begins anew.
And so Queen Belle, once lost, found herself again. She ruled with kindness. She sought forgiveness. And one spring morning, bells rang in the castle tower, bells of joy and celebration. For the queen had married King Philip, and together they ruled not with fear or envy, but with hope and healing and love. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would one day have a child of their own and tell them the tale of the queen who forgot and remembered again. The end.